Hello there, and welcome to your second history lesson. Today's lesson is, how did the people of the desert Southwest meet their needs? First of all, two vocabulary terms. The first one is tundra. A tundra is a vast, flat, treeless Arctic region. So vast basically means very large or big. Flat means not a lot of hills. Treeless, not a lot of trees. And Arctic basically just means it's cold. So a tundra is a really cold, really big, really flat region with no or few trees. Next, BC and AD. Now, I've noticed that fifth graders commonly come to school really not having any idea what these two words mean. If you do already know what they mean, good for you. BC stands for before Christ. For example, 230 BC would mean 230 years before Jesus Christ was born. AD stands for the Latin phrase Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord. It effectively means after Jesus Christ was born. For example, we live in the year 2020 AD. This means we live around 2020 years after Jesus was born. So why is this important? Because in order to understand when things happened in history, you need to know what these two phrases mean. Like, if something in your history book is saying that something happened in the year 2030 BC, that doesn't mean it happened 230 BC. That doesn't mean it happened 230 years ago. It means it happened 2,230 years ago, because it's 230 years before Jesus Christ was born. He was born about 2,000 years ago. So you really have to understand what these mean in order to know when things happened in history. Now, one other thing worthy of note is sometimes you see these written a little bit differently in some modern books. Rather than write BC, they'll put BCE, which stands for before the Common Era. And instead of putting AD, they'll put CE, which means Common Era. But they mean the exact same thing. So like 230 BCE would mean the exact same thing as 230 BC. And 451 CE would mean the same thing as 451 AD. But your history book for this year, which hopefully you'll be able to use soon once you're able to come back physically to class, hopefully that'll be soon. Your history book uses BC and AD. So it's most important for now that you understand what these mean. BC means before Christ. AD stands for a Latin phrase, but it effectively means after Christ was born. Okay? Next. The Pueblo people. We learned about the Pueblo people a bit in our last lesson as well. The Pueblo have inhabited the American Southwest for more than 1,000 years. They farmed crops such as corn and beans, and they built permanent homes out of stone and adobe clay. Next, the Navajo. The Navajo were neighbors to the Pueblo and borrowed some of their ideas. They used irrigation in order to grow crops, they made clothes with cotton, and they were skilled in making jewelry and pottery. The Navajo were related to the Athabascans of Alaska and Canada. Some think that they migrated from the northern tundra. So what's a tundra? It's a vast, flat, treeless Arctic region. Some think that they migrated from the northern tundra to the southwest deserts in the late 1200s AD. So that's in around 1200 years after Christ. The Navajo were originally hunter-gatherers, but quickly adopted new techniques for surviving in the desert. The Navajo lived in hogans. Here's a picture of a hogan right here, which were large dome-shaped buildings made of logs or stone and covered in mud and dirt. Next, the Apache. The Apache language, like the Navajo, is in the Athabascan family. So this makes it likely that the Apache, like the Navajo, also migrated from the northern tundra and are descended from the Athabascans. Although it's worthy of note that according to the Apache story, according to the way they tell the story, it was the other way around. They say the Athabascans migrated north from them rather than the Apache migrating south from the northern tundra. The Apache were not farmers, but hunter-gatherers. They hunted buffalo, deer, cougar, and other animals. They also gathered agave, cactus, nuts, and berries. Sometimes they would also get their food by trading with the Pueblo and the Navajo. At other times, they would get food by raiding Pueblo villages. So sometimes they'd trade for it, sometimes they'd just take it. Next, the Apache traditionally lived in small groups made up of their extended families. So they lived in pretty small tribes. They lived in wickiups, which were dome-shaped buildings covered in skins, reed mats, brush, or grass. And here's a picture of a wickiup right here. Wickiups could be easily taken apart and moved, which was good for the Apache who moved from place to place. And that's the end of this lesson. Pretty short lesson today. Make sure you click on the worksheet assignment, which is attached under this video. All right, I will see you guys next time. Signing off.